Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something, well, a little different for us.
Yeah, it's pretty unique.
It's a learning script designed to help people talk about their goals in really simple, clear English. It's called Talk About Your Dreams and Goals.
And at first glance, you might think, why are we doing a deep dive on something so, you know, basic?
Right.
But the strategy underneath it is anything but basic. We're not really looking at the vocabulary. We're dissecting the motivational architecture of it.
The blueprint of aspiration. That's what I was thinking. How does this simple guide actually move someone from a vague idea to a real statement of what they want?
Exactly. Our mission today is to unpack that. We're going to look at the sentence structures they use, the specific examples, and the tips they give for actually following through.
Okay, so let's jump right in. The foundation here is the language itself. The whole guide is focused on these direct, simple phrases. What are the core templates it gives people to work with?
Right, so it boils it all down to three key sentence structures,
Yeah.
and they're just deceptively simple. Go on.
The first one is about identity. It's, my dream is to become a doctor.
Okay, become a doctor. Got it.
The second is more about action. I want to start my own business.
Right, a desire.
And the third is a very specific outcome. My goal is to improve my English.
So, become, want, and improve. It seems simple, but those three verbs cover a lot of ground.
They really do. And you asked a great question earlier, why start with something that sounds almost passive, like my dream is to become?
Yeah, exactly. It feels less direct than I want to.
Well, and this is where the psychology comes in. When you say your dream is to become something, you're doing what they call identity priming. You're tying the goal to your future self.
Ah, so it's not just a task on a to-do list. It's about who you see yourself as.
Precisely. And goals tied to identity are just. They're stickier. They're more resilient when things get tough. So the guide is, maybe without even saying it, offering you two paths. The identity path and the action path. That's way more strategic than I thought. Okay, so then the guide immediately throws another distinction at us. The difference between a dream and a goal.
Yes.
We use them interchangeably all the time, but the material is very specific about this. How do they define them?
This is, I think, the most crucial part for planning. The script defines the dream as the emotional fuel. It's the big picture.
The why.
The why, exactly. Dreams give you motivation, they help you grow, they make life exciting. It's that, high-altitude vision.
So the dream is the North Star. It keeps you oriented.
Perfectly put. And the goals are the roadmap. They're the step-by-step instructions that get you closer to that North Star.
Okay, so breaking that down is really about preventing overwhelm.
Absolutely. The dream of becoming a doctor is huge. It's terrifying. But the goal of pass my biology exam next month.
That's something you can actually do. You can plan for that.
Right. And the simplicity of the language forces you to be specific. You can't really say, my goal is to be happier in this framework. It doesn't work. But my goal is to exercise regularly.
That's a clear, measurable action. The language itself becomes a filter for good planning.
It really does.
So after laying that groundwork, the script's hosts, Daniel and Sarah, they offer up their own ambitions as examples. Let's dig into those. What was Daniel's big dream?
Daniel's is very much about personal experience and growth. His dream is to travel around the world,
Okay.
to see new places, learn about different cultures. It's a goal focused on, expanding his own perspective.
And Sarah's is a really interesting contrast to that. Hers is focused outward.
Completely. Her dream is professional.
Hmm.
She wants to become a great English teacher.
And not just for herself.
No, her goal is to help many students speak confidently. So her focus is mastery and impact on other people.
And I think putting those two side by side is such a smart move.
It is.
Because you've got the personal journey on one hand and the professional legacy on the other. Why is that balance so important?
Because it validates everything in between. If all the examples were about building a business or becoming a CEO, what about the person whose dream is to, master a musical instrument?
They might feel like their dream isn't big enough.
Exactly. But by putting travel right next to teaching, the guide is basically saying, hey, any dream is valid.
Hmm.
Whether it's for you or for the world, it doesn't matter. It's yours.
That's great. Okay, so from those big dreams, they zoom in. They start talking about short-term goals versus long-term goals.
Right, the timeline.
How do they translate those big visions into something you can do, like this week? Let's start with the short-term stuff. What were Daniel's goals?
Daniel's short-term goals are all about building habits. Very classic self-improvement. He wants to read more books this year and exercise regularly.
Simple, consistent actions.
Yeah, high frequency, low barrier stuff, things you can do every day or every week.
What about Sarah? Hers was more tied to her profession, right?
Yep, directly. Her short-term goal was to learn new teaching methods and make her lessons better. So it's something that immediately feeds back into her daily work.
What's so interesting about these is how ordinary they are.
I know, right?
It's not get a PhD or double my income. It's read a book, take a walk, improve a lesson.
And if you look at that from a psychology perspective, it's brilliant. Those small goals give you immediate wins.
The dopamine hit.
The dopamine hit, exactly. You finish a workout, you read a chapter, you get that little reward that keeps you going toward the bigger, much more distant goal.
Which is where things usually fall apart for people.
Right. And that brings us to the long-term goals, which is where they start talking about legacy.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. What was Sarah's long-term vision? The thing that builds on her dream of teaching.
Her long-term goal was to one day build an English learning center,
Wow, okay. So a physical place, an institution.
a tangible institution. It shows you that a long-term goal isn't just an action. It's often about creating something that will last, something beyond just her own teaching.
And Daniel's goal was just as ambitious, but in a totally different way.
Again, that perfect balance. His long-term goal was to write a book to inspire people.
So one is bricks and mortar, and the other is a creative work.
Yep, a physical legacy versus an intellectual one. But the message is the same. Your ambition should eventually lead to creating something of lasting value.
But of course, ambition means nothing if you don't follow through, and the script calls this out directly. Daniel literally asks, many people struggle to follow their goals.
He does, yeah. It acknowledges the hardest part of the whole process.
So what's the advice? What are the practical steps they offer to actually keep people on track?
They boil it down to 4 really simple rules. The first is, start small.
Don't try to build the learning center on day one.
Right. Just improve one lesson plan. The second is, make a simple plan. Complexity is the enemy of consistency.
So no crazy spreadsheets or project management software.
Not unless you need it. The third is, keep practicing. Consistency over intensity every time. And the last one is, stay positive.
Okay, that last one, stay positive. That can sound a bit like, motivational fluff. Is it?
That is a very fair question.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to dismiss, but in the context of this whole framework, I don't think it's about ignoring failure.
So what is it about?
It's about what we call motivational maintenance. It's a reminder to reconnect with the dream, the why, especially when a short-term goal fails. Because if you lose faith in the dream, the goals just become chores.
Ah, I see. So staying positive is a tactical instruction to remember why you started.
That's how I see it. And they add one more tiny practical tip to anchor all of this.
The notebook.
The notebook. They say you can write your goals down to stay focused. And it sounds so simple, but the act of writing something down, it makes it real.
It takes it out of your head and puts it into the physical world. It's the very first step of execution, really.
It is. It externalizes the commitment. It's much harder to ignore something that's staring back at you from a page.
So these simple steps, start small, write it down, stay positive, they're the scaffolding that supports the big dream.
That's a great way to put it. The dream provides the energy, but these tips provide the structure to use that energy day after day.
So let's zoom out. We've looked at the language, the examples, the planning advice. What's the final, ultimate message that Daniel and Sarah are trying to leave with the listener?
It all comes down to one line from Daniel, I think. It sums up the entire philosophy.
And what's that?
He just says, what matters is that you believe in yourself. All of this, the simple sentences, the small goals, it's all just a way to build and reflect that core self-belief. If you can state your goal clearly, it means you can see it clearly. And if you can see it, you're so much more likely to actually go after it.
So the clarity of language is really just a reflection of clarity of mind.
That's it.
We've seen how this simple guide really gives you the tools to articulate everything from the huge vision to the tiny daily steps you need to get there.
Using those simple structures, my dream is, and my goal is.
Right. So we really want to encourage you, just like the script suggests, to take a few minutes today. Think about your own dreams, whether it's something huge like writing a book or something personal like exercising more.
And try to frame them using those simple sentences. See how it feels.
And that leaves us with one final thought for you to chew on.
Considering how much this material focuses on simple communication, how might the act of telling someone else your goal but telling it to them in this really simple, direct way. How might that affect your own commitment?
That's a great question. Does sharing the simple version make it feel more real, more achievable? Or does it add a layer of accountability?
Or maybe all of the above. Something to think about.
Food for thought indeed. Thank you for joining us for the deep dive. We'll see you next time.